Hi, everyone. My name is Julia,
And I'm Katie.
and we're the hosts of the Runways and Byways travel podcast. Welcome back to season two. We're so excited to be back. We took a little break because I had a baby and we just needed some time to get back into things. We need a break too. So, Katie, do you have anything to say about being back?
No, I'm definitely excited. I actually listened to one of our episodes yesterday to get me hyped up. So I'm really excited to jump back into it and just keep on consistently uploading. Really excited.
Which one did you listen to?
Cruising with Katie.
Oh, of course.
No, I mean, it was interesting. I was like, I want to see. And we were like so funny in it. And I was like, wow, I miss this.
Yeah, I listened to our Travel Nightmares one a few weeks ago because my friend listened to it and she was texting me and commenting about it. And I was like, I don't remember anything from this. So I listened to it and it was
Yeah.
actually so funny.
What did we say?
I don't remember. It was a few weeks ago. But we were
Only a few
talking,
weeks ago, and you
yeah,
can't remember.
mom brain. But
Um,
but I remember we said something about like the cockroach that landed in your hair. I was listening to that part. And then I listened to the Mexico story again. I was like, that was chaotic. And then the Hawaii trauma.
yeah.
I definitely want to have another travel nightmare episode though, because I thought
Mhm.
of a few things after we finished recording, and I think we should have a part two.
Yes, we should. Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. I have it on my list. I started making a new list of podcast topics for season two, which we could
Yay.
definitely go over.
I feel like the break did us good and now we're back with like fresh energy.
I agree. Yeah. I think I was getting a little burnt out towards the end because I was dealing with like the end of pregnancy and it was just a lot going on. But I think I'm
Yeah,
ready to go back into this full force and I'm really excited.
me too.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about traveling with a newborn, specifically road trips. I just came back from a road trip with my newborn, which we'll be talking about in a few minutes. But Katie, do you have anything to say about that? And then we'll do the trivia question and then get into it.
I'm definitely actually really excited about this episode. Julia just sprung it on me like 5 minutes ago, so I didn't know about it. But I feel like this is like such a good topic because, Julia is just like a new mom and I want to be a mom very soon. So I'm really curious about how we can blend the travel with the desire for motherhood. And I feel like it's possible, but I'm excited to hear the specifics because I literally have no idea.
Yeah, and also before going on this road trip, I had so many questions about going on a road trip with the newborn, and I really couldn't find too much online about it. And I'm
Mhm.
so glad I had this experience because now I know how to travel with a newborn and I'm so much more comfortable with it. And I'm actually going on another trip with her um in 2 days. We're going on another road trip. So I'm
It's
very
crazy.
excited about that. Yeah. And I feel very prepared now. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to share all my tips.
Yes, I'm excited to hear them.
Okay, so let's jump into the trivia question now. And the trivia question actually has to do with the trip that I'm going on in 2 days. So, like I said, I'm going on another road trip. And Katie, I actually have not told you about this trip at all.
I was like, am
So,
I supposed to know where you're going?
no, so the question actually is the answer is where I'm going. So I decided to do it that way. So
Oh, that's so exciting.
I'm going to keep you on the edge a little bit so you could
Yes.
try to figure out where I'm going. So this trip kind of came out of nowhere a few months ago. My husband's friend Donato, I've mentioned him a few times on the podcast here, but I always just keep saying my husband and Donato because I don't know if people know who he is. My
Yeah.
husband Donato, he invited his friend invited us to go on this road trip to this specific place, and I'm really excited. And the the answer to the question is where I'm going. So the question is, which US state has the most visited national park?
Hmm.
And we're going to be going to this national park, not with his friends because they didn't want to go for some reason. So we're going to be going to the national park on the way back. And I'm super excited
Hmm.
because I'm trying to go to every national park, even though it's really not working out. I've only been to two or three.
I mean, you're still young.
Yeah, I know. I just feel unaccomplished.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't know this one. Obviously, I want to say California, but I'm also like, are you doing a road trip all the way to California? So,
It's
I mean, you
possible.
could be. You could be. Um, I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm
think
gonna
about
think
it.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the answer was actually surprising to me. I'll give you that. I
Hmm.
didn't know that the state had the most visited national park.
Okay.
So I would have guessed something different. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so I'm probably not gonna get it, but that makes the answer.
Yeah, expect the unexpected.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. So you could think about that. And I guess all the other listeners can think about that too. And we'll get right into the topic of today, which is road trips with a newborn. So last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I guess we got back last week. We were gone for 9 days. We took my baby to New York. So we drove up from Florida to New York. So it turned out to be about a 24-hour drive with her, which is kind of crazy that we did that with she was 3 weeks old at the time. So that's kind of
Mm.
wild that we did that. And when we came back, she was like a little over 4 weeks old, I think. So, but still, regardless, it's pretty crazy that we did that with a baby so young. And yeah, like I said, going into it, I didn't know anything about traveling with a newborn or road trips with a newborn. I looked up a lot of information. I got really nothing. And I asked on the Facebook group that I'm in, the baby Facebook group that I'm in, and I reached out and I said, hey, can anyone give me tips for road trips with babies? And I didn't really get much help there either. People kind of
Mm.
just said, oh, take a lot of breaks, which I kind of knew already. So that was not tremendously helpful either. But I think going through it, I learned a lot. So,
Mm.
Katie, do you have anything to say to any questions to start it off?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting that when you try to do research on it, there's nothing out there because I feel like a lot of people would do road trips, not necessarily for fun, but to visit family, like you had to go back home and see your family for Christmas. So I think it is a common thing that maybe there's not a lot of resources out there, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and also I've been talking to this girl online. I have this app, it's called Peanut. It's for like people who are pregnant or who have babies to meet each other and become friends and like create like a mom group, I guess, kind of thing. And so I met this girl on there and she lives in New York. She's moving to Florida. And I think she actually moved to Florida this week. And she was
Mm.
supposed to drive down with her newborn. And I told her, like, oh, don't even worry about it. Like, we just did it. It's fine. And she said, actually, I changed my mind because driving down with my newborn scared me so much. So now I'm going to be flying down. And to me,
Yeah.
that actually seems scarier, having gone through driving with a newborn. I think flying with a newborn seems a lot scarier. What do you think?
I think that's interesting. I feel like you need to elaborate on that because I just have no clue.
Yeah, I just think at the airport, like, you're just always kind of like stressed out a little bit. And then to
Yeah.
just bring a newborn into that situation, I mean, sure, like road trips can be stressful, but I think you're just in your own element. You don't have to worry about TSA. If you need a break, you can take a break. Meanwhile, if you're flying, you have to worry about like the security and the car seat and what are you going to do with it and who's going to watch the baby when you have to go to the bathroom and this and that. And it's just kind of like, it just seems a little more chaotic to me.
Yeah, and I feel like the pressure, like I know for me, when I'm up in the air, sometimes my ears really start to hurt from the pressure, and I can't imagine how a newborn would feel, and they're probably crying so much. And obviously, you shouldn't really care that much what other people think, but I mean, it is annoying to other passengers. I'm sure if your baby's crying the entire flight, if it's like a long flight, people trying to sleep. So I feel like that added stress, like you're already stressed that your baby's crying, and then you also have to deal with everybody else's judgment. That could also be really hard. Whereas, like, if you're in your own car, you could just deal with it on your own. There's nobody there to judge you. Like, so I feel like that's also something to consider.
Exactly. I was thinking that in my head when I was thinking through whether flying would be easier, just all the judgment from people. And I mean, I will be flying with her eventually. I'm not just going to not travel just because I have her. But I
Yeah.
do think that the judgment scares me a lot because I don't
Yeah.
fully know how to control her yet. And even when I do know how to control her, sometimes she's a baby. Like she has her own mind, she does her own thing. When she wants to cry, she cries. So I
Mhm.
don't know that I'll be able to stop her all the time. And I just don't want to be that person with the screaming baby.
Yeah, I would feel the same way. Like I feel like, if it was 15, 20 minutes, I'd be like, okay, but when it's hours and hours, like I mean, as much as I love babies, I like when I hear a screaming baby, I do get kind of like really like I do understand where they're coming from, but like it does give people headaches. So I do think that is something to consider. If your child is somebody who's like a little bit more temperamental, like maybe, do consider a road trip.
Yeah, and mine definitely is a little temperamental.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm hoping it gets better. She's still so new. She's barely 6 weeks old. So
Yeah.
or yeah, she's not even 6 weeks. I think she's like maybe 5.5. But so she's still so little. And I think it is maybe too soon to bring her on a plane. I'm not sure, but road trip worked out really well for us, honestly. She
Mhm.
actually slept the entire time. And I think,
That's really nice.
yes, and I think it's because the car is rocking her. So
Yes.
every time we stopped is when she would get up and scream. But that kind of worked
Yeah,
out
babies are
because,
students. Yeah.
yeah, that's what we wanted her to wake up when we stopped because that's when we were going to be changing and feeding her. So it
Mhm.
worked out that she was waking up every time we stopped. We were like, okay, perfect. Now we don't have to wake you up. It was just annoying in traffic. That's when the screaming would start.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. So it sounds like it was pretty relaxing overall, or were there moments of chaos?
Overall, it was pretty relaxing. Yeah, like I said, she did wake up a bit when there was traffic, but I slept through it. So
Okay.
it didn't really bother
Oh,
me.
because then the car's not moving anymore.
Yes, exactly.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
So really the moments of chaos only came when we weren't moving. And at that point, it was fine because we had a handle on the situation because we were out taking care of her, changing her diaper, feeding her. So it really all worked out in that sense that we didn't that the chaos was like planned chaos almost.
Yeah. Okay, good. So it sounds like overall it was fine. Like, is there
Yeah,
any advice that you would give to people, like what to pack or what to go into it thinking?
yeah, so the packing thing actually stressed me out a lot, and I had a complete panic attack before we left because I was like, I don't know what to put in the car. I have no idea. This is so difficult. But there were a few items that really helped me out, and I actually started writing a blog post on this, and it's pretty much done, honestly. I just have to edit it. And so by the time this podcast is posted, the blog post will probably be posted as well, so you could check and read that. And I go into detail about all the things that really helped me out on my trip, but there are definitely, I'd say like five things that really helped me out. And I think a white noise machine is one. We have a portable white noise machine, and I think it just chilled her out a little bit. Bring a pacifier, obviously, to help like for self-soothing when she's screaming. I just shove it in her mouth and she usually stops. And for I was very concerned about the whole food situation of how to because I'm formula feeding at night to like kind of knock her out, and I'm not breastfeeding, but I'm pumping. So I pump and I have all this breast milk, and I'm like, what do I do with this? So and you have to keep it chilled at least for to use it or frozen long term. So I was like, all this milk is going to go bad in the car. What are we going to do? And we could have brought a cooler, but that's just, I don't know, extra because like it's a lot of ice and I don't know, just dramatic. We didn't have much room in the car. So we actually got a mini fridge and we had it
Oh,
on, yeah, so we had it on the baby registry, which if you're pregnant and planning to have a baby, just throw it on your registry. I think it was a good thing to put it on there. And the mini fridge basically it came with a car adapter, so it plugs directly into our car, and
wow.
we just stored all the milk in there. The formula that we prepared, we stored in the fridge, and it was just so convenient because yeah, all the milk I pumped, I just dumped in there, and it worked out.
Wow, that's really smart. I would never have thought that.
Yeah, and actually, Donato thought about it because I had the mini fridge here just next to the bed, so I wouldn't have to get up to get her milk. I could just take it out of the fridge like when she wants it at night. But he actually put it in the car, and I turned around and I saw it in the back seat, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually really smart." And it worked out so well. I'm so glad we did that, and we're definitely going to be doing that on our road trip in 2 days. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really, really convenient. I highly recommend that. And it's kind of like a little known fact, I guess, that you should bring that.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, that really helped me out. Also, the breast pump that I have, I got a hands-free one, so it just kind of like sticks to my boobs and I could still like go about my normal life while I'm pumping. Because the one I got from insurance, and I know there's a lot of different types, and you could get them free through insurance. So the one I got free through insurance plugs into a wall and you have to kind of like just hold it on your boobs and it pumps, but yeah, like you really just have you're kind of stuck in one spot. But I ordered one off Amazon. It's called Bella Baby something or other. I'll put a link to it in the blog post. And basically what it does, yeah, just sticks to my boobs. I can go about my day. And what I liked about that is in the car, it was just so convenient because I
Nice.
didn't have to worry about plugging in something or anything. Even though I did wind up bringing my bigger pump that plugs in, and I did wind up using that in the car as well. So I basically had two pumps, but I just definitely recommend the hand-free one as well. Just it makes things so, so much easier.
So you had to pump during the drive?
Yes, because
Yes, because
I, oh, did you hear that echo? Is there an echo on your end? Anyways, whatever. No.
it's like a little static sometimes.
Okay. Well, it was only for a second on my end. Anyways, yeah. So I pump every 3 hours. And so when you got to go, you got to go. So, and we were stopping to feed and change her every 3 hours. I definitely recommend that. Every 2 to 3 hours, you should stop, change the baby, feed the baby. I mean, of course, it depends on your baby's age, but I'm talking about a newborn here. So every 2, 3 hours, stop, feed, change, give them some time to wiggle, maybe some tummy time. That's really important because sitting in the seat for so long isn't good for them. But anyways, yes, I have to pump every 3 hours. So like when I feel it coming, it's gotta go. And I just think having the two pumps, especially the hands-free pump, was super, super helpful.
Okay, so my question is like it kind of sounds like a lot to stop every 2 to 3 hours. Did you guys take turns driving at all?
We did, but he definitely did the bulk of the driving just because he what happened was he started off the drive and he was just on a roll, so he wanted to keep going. And then by the time he gassed himself out, it was already nighttime. And so I took over at that point, but then I started getting tired and I
Yeah.
started like hallucinating because I was so tired. And I was like, I can't drive anymore. Like, I don't know what to do because I can't drive and you can't drive. And so he wound up taking over again because he was just a little better than I was, believe it or not. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so he did drive most of the way, but I sat in the back with the baby. I took care of her for the most part. I mean, he definitely did a lot at the stops too, but yeah.
I feel like that would be my concern is like it's like a 24-hour drive, so nobody's really sleeping and you have to tend to the baby and you even just said you're hallucinating. I feel like that's not good.
I mean, I feel like
I
that's
feel like
just a
that's a
typical
lot.
road trip thing though. Like when you're driving for so long and you're tired, you do hallucinate, but I mean, it's not good. But
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, how would you would you do anything differently or would you still be like, okay, like that's fine?
I just think the way we handled switching off driving was not good. I think I know he was on a roll during the day, but I think even though he wasn't tired, he should have said, "Here, you take over." That way he could have gotten some rest, even though he may not have really needed it at that time, just so later in the day he would have been better and then I would have been better later in the day too. I just think we needed more of a balance rather than just me taking care of the baby and just him driving. I think that was
Yeah.
our biggest issue.
Do you think maybe because I feel like if I was going to do this road trip down to Florida, I might pick like a halfway point, get like a hotel and sleep for the night. Do you think that's something worth considering, or do you think pushing through is better with a newborn?
Oh no, absolutely. I wanted to do that. And Donato
Mhm.
was like, no, we're not doing that. We're going straight. But I
Wow.
100% think we should have done that. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes because more so on the driving aspect than her. She was fine. She slept. She was great. I think she was a little fussy like the 2 days after the road trip, just acclimating to life again, life
Yeah.
outside the car. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was more for us than for her it would have been. But I do think we really needed that. I think that would have been important.
Because I feel like that would be my thing. Like I'm somebody who gets very sick in environmental situations. So I think if I was in a car for 24 hours, even if Michael was driving the whole time, I mean, first of all, I know he couldn't do that, but so it's good that Donato can do that. But yeah, I think I would just need to like relax for a little
Yeah,
bit. I hate
I
being in for that long.
I know, me too. It's torture. I highly recommend stopping, even if it makes your drive longer. I just think it's worth it because having the baby makes the drive longer too. So why not just prolong it a little more? Because I think we got so hooked on like, oh, we want to be here by this time that we didn't really take like our mental health into consideration. And then we had to stop every 2, 3 hours for her anyways. So that's already prolonging our drive. The drive's really only supposed to be like 18 to 20 hours, and it kind of got stretched out to 24 just because of all the stopping. So why not just
Yeah.
stop a little longer, recharge, and then go back into it with a clear head?
Yeah, maybe like if you left like the day earlier or whatever, like you feel like you could have more time if like you can take that time off, you know?
Yes, exactly. I think my advice is to set your expectations as low as possible for when you're going to get there and don't have like a time like set in your head like I have to be there by this time. And if you do have a time that you have to be there by, then either fly or just leave earlier because traveling with a newborn, especially a long, long trip like that, you need to stop. It's so important.
Yeah. So just bouncing off of that, do you have any other advice that would help new moms and dads on road trips mental health during a road trip?
Um, yeah, I just think the sleeping thing is very important. I think depriving yourself of that is not good because you're already sleep deprived to begin with from having the baby. So then you're going into a situation making yourself even more sleep deprived, like you just feel crazy the whole time.
Yeah.
I think really
Okay.
that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about food? Like, what did you guys do for food on the way there for yourselves?
Truthfully, we really didn't eat that much. I mean, of course, we brought snacks in the car, and during our planned stops when we were changing and feeding her, we kind of switched off. So we stopped at Five Guys, and I went in, got my food. I ate while I was inside. I ate by myself, and Donato was outside with the baby, and he was changing and feeding her. And then when he finished, he went inside. I went outside with the baby. I pumped, and he was eating. So we kind of switched off.
Okay.
So it was kind of sad we didn't have like a family meal, but it was the most time efficient, I guess. And we were still able to eat and get everything done that we needed to get done.
Yeah. Interesting.
Although we are having a slightly different plan for eating when we go to this mysterious place that I'm going to, because we're going to be driving through a city that I really want to go to and that I
Ooh.
really want to see. So we're going to be stopping in that city, and I'd love for us to be able to eat together there because it's apparently really pretty. So
Yeah.
our plan for switching off isn't exactly going to be happening when we're there. I'd like to kind of walk around and sightsee a little bit. So that should be interesting. I think it'll definitely be a bit of a longer stop because we're not really going to be killing two birds with one stone at that stop, but I think we could still make it work.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good idea. I think that's something I would definitely do too. Cause yeah, I mean, I feel like, some people don't care. It's just like, oh, you eat whatever. But I'm like the type of person, maybe I'll change when I become a mom, but I'm like, let's do it together, everything together. Like, so I would be kind of sad if like I was eating five food
Yeah.
and like out there and then we have to like, yeah, that would definitely be like sad. And
It
I'm
was
so sleep deprived. There's just so much going on.
it was a little sad. I think both of us were just in the mindset we were just like, let's get out of here and get to New York. But
Yeah,
or I don't even remember if that was on the way there or the way back, but we were just both in the mindset like, let's get this done, let's multitask, let's switch off so that way we can just finish this and end this drive once and for all. But I am
mhm,
really excited to kind of do the opposite on this trip because it's a little bit more fun, I guess.
yeah.
So we're
Because
going to
you
be
have something you're looking forward to. Like you have a meal together. You see like a nice city. Like that sounds really nice.
Yeah, and we're still only going to be there for an hour or two, but
Oh, that was like an overnight thing.
no, no, we're literally just like stopping for food and like very quick sightseeing, but I'm still
Okay.
really excited. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'll explain everything when I reveal my destination. But yeah,
Right.
it's kind of just going to be a quick stopover, and instead of like rushing to get out of there, we're actually gonna eat somewhere nice and walk around and take our time a little bit.
Yeah. My other question is, so on the way back, did you do anything different than on the way there? And was it better or worse the way back? Because that's still a full 24 hours. It's a lot of driving.
Yeah, the way back, I think we had a little more difficulty with the driving just because we were really like, all right, the fun's over, let's get back. And
Yeah.
I think that was the drive that he really pushed himself. And we wound up with like the hallucination issues and all that. So yeah, I definitely think we should have paced ourselves better, especially knowing we have a newborn. I mean, like we were going slow to begin with. Like, why not just keep going slow? We had nowhere to be. We just wanted to get back. It wasn't like we had to get back.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, overall, the drive there and back were kind of the same, but I think the way back, we were definitely like, we want to go home. So it was kind of a little more tense in terms of the driving.
Yeah. Okay. So without revealing the destination, are you going to do anything differently besides stopping?
We actually have not discussed that. I mean, I definitely think, like I said again, with like the whole switching off thing. I think that's really important with the driving. But in terms of the baby, I don't think we're going to do anything different. I think we did everything exactly how we should have. And I also forgot to mention a few other items that helped us out on the trip that we are definitely going to be using on our next road trip in 2 days. There, we have this changing pad for in the car. And so we wouldn't have to take her into the bathroom to the changing table to change her. You just lay it out on your car seat and change it right there, change her right there. And it was so great because it was so much more sanitary, obviously, than taking her into a gas station bathroom where people probably just do cocaine off those
Oh my
things. Like
gosh.
disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good idea.
that was so helpful. And especially because like when it was really cold out, I would just kind of like shimmy myself over and just lay it out on the seat so I wouldn't even have to get out of the car, which was really awesome. And we also brought like what are those called? Like the dog bags that you put dog poop in. And so we could just throw the dirty diapers and wipes in there rather than having to like lug like a dirty diaper to the bathroom like in our hands and like throw them all over the car. It was just kind of nasty. So
Yeah.
I think those were really helpful. Also kind of like an unexpected item, but that was really helpful too. And so I definitely plan on using those things again this trip. And we had a portable bottle warmer. So basically what you do is you heat up you boil water before you leave. You put it into this thing, it's like a thermos, and the bottle fits into it. So when you're ready to heat up the bottle, you just put it into the thermos thing and it heats up the bottle for you and it keeps the water hot the entire drive. So that was also super, super helpful. And we're definitely going to be using all those things when we go on our next road trip. And but
Okay.
doing things differently, I don't know. I think we kind of did everything right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are your overall thoughts about road tripping with newborns?
So it's not easy. I mean, I know I've been saying this whole time that it worked out great and she slept and we got like good use out of the items that we brought and I wouldn't change anything, but it's definitely not easy. And I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have the time and the patience and the willingness to take the time to stop and take your time with the drive and take the baby out to like wiggle around and do tummy time and just chill. If you don't have the time for that or the patience for that, then definitely don't do a road trip. I would definitely take a plane, even though I know that brings a whole different set of issues. But
Yeah.
I definitely think weigh your options because it's not easy. But I
Yeah.
will tell you that all the things I brought along and just her sleeping when the car was moving definitely helped so, so much. And I do feel like we could do it again. That's why, I mean, obviously we are doing it again, but I would be open to even doing it again, like in the future, just because it is I think we got the hang of it. And I mean, it's scary going into it because you don't really know what to expect. And like that's like I told you, I was frantically looking online for information. But I just give yourself grace, be patient with your baby, be patient with yourself. And I think it'll all work out fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, bring lots of changes of outfits. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but babies spit up a lot, as I'm sure any moms that are listening to this might know. So just bring extra of everything, bring lots and lots, just be super prepared. And I think that also helped with the anxiety, just knowing that I had everything I needed. I also brought, I don't know if I mentioned this before, I don't think I did, but when we were talking about like the stuff for the food for the baby, I don't think I mentioned that bring like a ton of sanitized bottles and you could also bring the microwavable sanitizer bags so that way God forbid you run out of bottles you can bring most gas stations have microwaves and also hotels have them as well and so you can sanitize your bottles at a gas station or a hotel so if you run out of bottles by any chance, I mean I'd like to think that you'd pack extras. We packed extras, but God forbid we ran out, we did have those things. Then I think that definitely helped with my anxiety. So in this case, I would almost say over prepare. I think that's
Yeah.
what helped me
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
have like a life in your hands. So I mean, on like on a trip that is just me and my husband, I'm like, oh, if I forget this, it's fine, whatever. But I think with a baby, you really don't want to forget anything. I think it's important to over prepare and have everything worst case scenario than to be running around and being like, oh my gosh, I don't have a bottle for my baby, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's really important, is just be really prepared, take your time, give yourself grace, give your baby grace, and just relax.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I feel like that's really good advice.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's all I really have to say. Do you have any other questions?
No, I feel like you answered all of my questions. Yeah, I mean, it does make me a little bit nervous just because there's just so much preparation that goes into it. Like what you were saying with the sanitizing and making sure you bring this and that and this and that. Like it's definitely way more planning with a newborn than with just the two of you. And there's a lot more. I think like what you said, I think over preparing and also having so much grace for yourself. I think if you get frustrated or if you start to have like really bad anxiety, that could like lessen the experience. But if you go into it like, I'm gonna love myself, I'm gonna love this baby. If I need to stop, if this happens, like you have to have a lot of that, a lot of
Mhm.
patience.
Yeah, you need to be willing to be patient and give yourself time to stop. I think that is like the absolute number one most important thing about going on a road trip with a baby or a newborn. Like you just really need to be willing to do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't like, the whole purpose of this podcast was not to make you nervous, but I mean, I think just hearing all the information, especially just like me, like word vomiting it, it is a little overwhelming because I was just like, oh, bring this, bring that, bring that. But I did lay it out very nicely in my blog post. And like I said, I will be posting that in a few days. It'll definitely probably be up by the time this podcast is up. So, and it's laid out a lot nicer in there. I'm gonna try to provide like a packing list with it as well, just to make everything really like nice and easy to follow. Because I mean, I definitely think this podcast was probably helpful but chaotic because we were just throwing out like tips left and right. But I think that will help in a more organized way.
Yeah, yeah, and it also makes me wonder about, is the plane really that much harder? Because then at least you're just in like one spot. If it only, like to get to Florida, it'd only be like 3 hours as opposed, I don't know. I think like there's so much pros and cons to each. I feel like it's just such a interesting like thing to think about.
Yeah, I do think the plane definitely stresses me out a little more because it's like, where do I pump? Like, it's kind of awkward to be using a breast pump next to some random guy. That's kind of weird. And it's like, where do you change the baby if the baby needs to be changed? What if the baby's freaking out? I just think it brings a lot of other issues into play that I would not have in the car. So personally, traveling by car at this point stresses me out a lot less.
Yeah.
However, I do think that's a quicker experience. Like it might be more chaotic, but it's done faster. So there's definitely pros and cons. So I think if you're considering traveling with a baby or a newborn or a young child, just weigh your pros and cons and determine like which is better for where you're going, I guess. I think for us it worked out. It might not work out for everyone. And I mean, I will be traveling with her by plane at some point. I'd like to, and we can have a podcast about that at some point as well, once I do it, of course. And but I'm excited to see how that turns out. I'm definitely more nervous about that though. I think my friend who is flying by plane, I don't know how that made her less nervous, but good for her. Well,
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what her experience would be like.
yeah, I'm curious as well. I think she must have flown down already. I have to message her and see how that went. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to see because I mean it affects me too. Like I'd like to be doing that as well at some point. And I know
Yeah.
I have a bunch of trips planned to New York this coming year. There's a lot of reasons I have to go to New York. So I know she's gonna be coming with me. I know I'm gonna be going on a plane with her within the next few months. So I'd like to be as prepared for that as possible.
Right. And then I wonder if it's different in the newborn phase versus 6 months or yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it definitely is. I mean, she changes every day. Her needs change every day. So I'm sure the bigger she gets, I mean, just even her mobility. If I think now she's like this floppy little thing when she's 6 months old, well, I mean, I don't know when babies start crawling, but I think they're crawling at that point. But I mean, she'll be a lot more mobile regardless, and she might want to like like get out of her seat or like crawl around. And I think and she's bigger and harder to maneuver. So I definitely think every age of baby brings new challenges. And I mean, she will be a little bigger when I go on the plane with her. So I will not be doing that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think of my grandma. I think she was traveling with 4 kids on a plane and twins, and they were 2 years old. And
Uh,
and my dad was a baby. The twins were 2 years old, and so they were running around. And then my other aunt, I think she was 4. So she was traveling with 4 kids by herself with
wow.
and like 3 of them were babies. Like that's wild. So I think
Yeah.
if she could do it with that many kids, I could handle one, and so can you. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's difficult, but I think it's doable.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Very
So
interesting.
yeah, I look forward to seeing how traveling with her changes and evolves with my lifestyle.
Yeah, and like as she gets older, when you start going to places that are really cool, it's like, what's her experience? Like, if you're gonna bring her to Greece, like, will she like it? Will she cry? That like, it's just so interesting to think about what the dynamic might be as somebody who loves traveling but also wants to be a mom. It's like, has your
Yeah,
kids,
because
you
I'm
know?
definitely not going to be stopping, and it's interesting because my friend, she's in Guatemala right now, and she was supposed to go with her friend, and her friend dropped out. And so last second I was like she was like saying that she didn't want to go alone and this and that. So last second I was like, maybe I can go with you. And so we tried to work it out and it didn't work out, but um this summer, like Donato saw all her pictures and videos and they're stunning. Like I saw them too. They're amazing. And so we want to do it now. And he was saying, "Oh, what if we go and we bring the baby?" Oh, I think that's a terrible idea, but we might be traveling to Guatemala with the baby soon. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, nothing's planned yet, but he really wants to do that this summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely plan on traveling with her, and it definitely does bring up a lot of uh, nervousness in me, but I'm 100% going to be doing it, and I'll let you guys know how that works out.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah,
good luck.
thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if that specific trip is happening, but he'd really like it too, and I'd really like it too, obviously. So we'll see. Yeah,
Very interesting.
I'll keep you
I
guys posted.
updated. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So is that all?
Yes, I just have to now guess where you're going.
Yes. Okay. So I'll repeat the question. The question, let me pull it back up because I was looking at something else here. Okay, here's the question. The question is, which US state has the most visited national park?
Is there any way you could share your screen and just pull up a US map so I could see a visual of all the places?
Yes. Let me, US map. And then, I'm not good at this. Share screen. Can you see? I don't think you
Yeah,
can. You
I
can.
could see.
Okay. So here is a map of the United States. That is really small. Can you see that?
Maybe you have to zoom in a little.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, there we go.
can you see?
Oh, yeah. So I'm seeing where Florida is. And okay, I think the town you want to pass through would be Austin, something like that, because I feel like you like Austin. Um, and I feel like where you're going is going to be somewhere in the west, so it could be Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, something like that. I don't think it's California, it could be, but I'm gonna go with I'll just say Arizona.
Okay. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you were way off. So
Ooh.
the you want the answer? You want to
Can you
have
give me
another
a
another go?
yeah?
I'm trying to think of a hint that won't completely give it away. Think a little closer to me. I think
Is it
that's the
Texas?
Texas. No, it's not Texas.
Is it closer than Texas?
It's closer than Texas, yes.
Oh, is it Tennessee?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, so
That's
we're,
fine.
what did you say?
But that's not too far.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's going to turn out to be, so basically what we're doing is we're staying in a cabin outside of Nashville, and we we're driving up. We're going to pass through Helen, Georgia, which is where I want to go. So I don't know if
Uh,
you've ever heard of Helen, Georgia, but let me pull up some pictures. It's really pretty. It's it looks like Germany.
really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's really, really cute. So I've been wanting to stop there for a long time. And it's basically like a little German town. It's all the buildings look like Germany and it's in the mountains. So it's like basically like Germany outside of Germany. So we're going to be stopping there, walking around, getting lunch. It's just going to be like an extended stop basically, but we're not staying over. And so that's what we're going to be. And it's a little bit north of Atlanta. So it's on the way. And then we're going to be stopping in Knoxville to visit my aunt. And then from Knoxville, we're going to be shooting over to Nashville. So it's going to be a long drive. We're going to be really tired, but I mean, it's not going to be as long as New York. It'll be about, I think, maybe 15 to 18 hours, I'm assuming.
So what are you going to do with the baby when you're in Nashville?
So when we're in Nashville, we have a whole itinerary, and his friends came up with a lot of the itinerary. So I'm not, we can't do everything on the itinerary because there's a lot of like clubs that they want to go to that we're not going to be able to bring a newborn baby to. But we're gonna find our own like cute little family things to do while they're at the club or wherever. There are some things that we can bring her to. Like we're going to be going to the vineyards one day, and we could bring her to the vineyards. Like it's just like outside sipping wine. Like that's fine, and like walking around, sightseeing, hanging in the cabin, going in the hot tub. Like it's gonna be like pretty chill for the most part. Anything we can't bring her to, we're not gonna bring her to, and we're just gonna find our own things to do. And then on the way back, we're going to be going to the national park, which is what I told you about, which is what the question was about. So the national park that we're going to be going to, which is the most visited national park in the United States, is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And so you were probably thinking Yellowstone when you said like California, or I think Yellowstone. I'm not sure. Is that Wyoming, maybe? I'm not sure exactly where Yellowstone is. I know it's like in that area though. So I think that's probably where your head was at. So that's
Yeah,
actually,
wide open space and like,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's actually the second most visited national park. But in 2020, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park actually had double the visitors of Yellowstone. So it's the most visited national park with 12.1 million people visiting in 2020. So I'm really excited to go.
Yeah. When are you
And
going?
we're going in 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we literally just got back from New York and now we're going again. So I'm going to show you Great Smoky Mountain National Park. It's a
Wow.
really pretty. So I'm super excited. And I mean, I know I'm not going to get the full experience because we're going to have the baby with us. We're probably not going to be
Yeah.
able to do all the crazy hiking, but I just want to see as much of it as we possibly can. And yeah, I'm super excited to go there. It looks really, really gorgeous. I think we are doing a hike with Donato's friends as well, but at a state park, not a national park. But yeah, I'm excited to see everything. I think this is a very different Tennessee trip than I'm used to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been to Tennessee a few times. We went together, like what was that, 2 years ago now? Wow. And yeah, and I've gone a few times with my family. So this I think is my fourth time going. Yeah, this is my fourth time going to Tennessee, but this is a different experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty pumped.
Nice. Well, have fun. Take lots of pictures and let
Yes.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, you cut out there, but I get the gist of what you were saying. Let you know about
Yeah.
my my time. Yeah, so that's happening soon, and that's all I have to say about that.
Nice.
All right. So is that all you have to say about everything, Katie?
Yeah, it was very informative. Lots to think about. And I think it's very informative for everybody, even if you don't have kids, just to consider what it's like having a kid and traveling.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how my traveling with kids experience changes and grows, and I'm going to be updating everyone along the way, as I've said before. So really excited. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is time for what I always say at the end of the podcast. If you want to find us online, you could find us at www.runwaysandbyways.com. You could sign up for the budget travel planner and newsletter, and you could sign up for podcast notifications. You'll just give your name and email address, and you could receive all of that information. Travel planning services, we have Choose My Destination, recommendations, and advice. That is all on runwaysandbyways.com. Social media, you could find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and Threads, all at Runways and Byways, except for Twitter. That is Runways and Byways. So instead of the word end, it's just the letter N. Podcast availability, we're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, Anchor/Spotify for podcasters, and YouTube. And that is all. All right. So I guess anything left to say? I don't think so. I think we already gave our wrap-up statements. So if that's the case, we will see you next time on the next episode of the Runways and Byways Travel Podcast. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Whether your plane is taking off from the runway
or you're driving down a byway,
we'll be your guides
through it all.